Hello and welcome to another episode of Craig Biddle Live. Today I'm going to put on my sales hat and talk to you a little bit about the Objective Standards upcoming summer conference, which will be held in August in Richmond, Virginia. And the conference theme is Philosophy for Freedom and Flourishing. We're calling it TOS-Con 2018, Philosophy for Freedom and Flourishing. And I'm super excited about this conference. So I want to tell you a little bit about what's in store, who's speaking there, what the topics are going to be, some of the performances that we're going to have there, and a little bit about the area in Richmond, because I think if you have any interest in the philosophic ideas that underpin freedom and that give rise to flourishing, this conference is definitely going to be of interest to you. So the point of the conference really is to not only to investigate and elucidate the ideas sort of piecemeal in different areas, for instance, the ideas of Aristotle and Ayn Rand on flourishing, the ideas of Frederick Douglass on what it means to be a self-made man, the ideas of Jean-Baptiste and Ayn Rand and how those integrate, ideas on how to develop a career and a life around things that you love. These are some of the kinds of topics, and I'll get into some more details on these shortly. But the point is not only to show how these ideas play a role in each of these specific areas, or the ideas of each of these specific thinkers apply to freedom and flourishing, but it's bigger than that. The idea is to create this massive integration around these ideas to demonstrate not only how they work piecemeal, but that there's a system of ideas that all integrate and are grounded in reality that support freedom and flourishing. And so whether you're new to philosophy or these kinds of philosophic ideas, or whether you're a seasoned vet of these kinds of ideas, I think you're going to find a great deal of value at this conference and in the lectures that we're going to hear there. So what I want to do is I want to just give you an indication of the speakers and some of the content, and it's way too much for my meager memory to hold, so I'm going to have to look at some notes here as we go, but I think this will be helpful. So what I want to do is I'm going to talk about the speakers, and I'll just do this in alphabetical order, and the topics that they're going to be speaking on, and why I'm so excited about it, and why I think you will be too. First on the list here is my good friend Robert Begley, who is the president of the New York Heroes Society. Robert is just over the moon about Alexander Hamilton, among other heroes, but Robert just loves Alexander Hamilton, so much so that he's taken to dressing up like Alexander Hamilton and giving presentations about Hamilton in full dress. And that's what he's going to be doing at the conference. And he's going to be speaking on the topic Alexander Hamilton, Freedom Fighter or Statist. And as you can imagine, he's going to come down on the freedom fighter side. But the beautiful thing is that Robert knows his history on this inside and out. And he's going to make a case for Alexander Hamilton that you've probably never heard before. You've probably heard something along those lines if you've read my friend Richard Salzman's wonderful article, America is Hamiltonian, or America at its best is Hamiltonian, from a few issues ago in the Objective Standard. But Robert's going to give sort of an indication of the heroic nature of Hamilton's life and his ideas in full dress. And I'm told there's going to be a little bit of rap involved, which should be just a whole lot of fun. Andy Bernstein, good friend Andy, the indefatigable Dr. Bernstein, is going to be speaking on independence versus collectivism in Ayn Rand's novels. Now, Dr. Bernstein is an expert on Rand's ideas, particularly her novels, and he gives the most amazingly powerful speeches and lectures on these ideas. So I think you'll just find this fabulous. Dr. Bernstein is the author of many books, and he's got a forthcoming book titled Heroes and Hero Worship. And that's obviously going to be one of the sort of themes running through this conference, and it's definitely the aspect of Rand's novels that encompasses the individualist characters in there. So Dr. Bernstein's speaking on independence versus collectivism in Ayn Rand's novels. Next up on the list here is Jim Brown. Jim is the CEO of the Ayn Rand Institute. He's got a long history in management and finance, and he's a man of many skills and ideas, and he's going to be speaking on intellectual activism for fun and profit. We live in a new world today where getting ideas out there has become relatively easy, so anyone who wants to be an intellectual activist has many avenues to do so, and Jim is going to spell out his thoughts on this and encourage people who are interested in these kinds of things, and perhaps even in a career in moving ideas and being an intellectual, to investigate some of the possibilities on how to monetize your work that way. I'll be speaking on two different topics. First, on freedom and flourishing as matters of science. And the theme there will simply be that there are facts and principles underlying what gives rise to the propriety of freedom and what gives rise to the principles of flourishing. And that we need to embrace these ideas just like we embrace the ideas in engineering or physics or any other science in order to uphold these values, freedom and flourishing. Now, it's relatively obvious today that people recognize that flourishing is to some extent a science, both you can think about it on the level of nutrition and on the level of positive psychology and the kinds of actions that the better thinkers in those fields advocate. But what I want to get at in this lecture is flourishing in the context of that being the moral purpose of life, and that morality is anchored in reality, just like every other science. And then we'll apply that same idea to the realm of politics, upholding freedom. It's not just an opinion that freedom is better than non-freedom, that freedom is better than slavery. It's a fact. It's a scientific fact. So we'll look at those ideas there. I'll later speak on a similar topic, the secular source and nature of rights. Those will be relatively integrated talks. Cariann Biondi will be speaking on Aristotle and Ayn Rand, on their ideas on flourishing or eudaimonia. Dr. Biondi is an Aristotle expert, and she has some really interesting ideas on how Ayn Rand's ideas and Aristotle's ideas are parallel, more parallel than a lot of people think they are, and still some ideas on what the important differences are, but most importantly on what we can learn from Rand and Aristotle in order to make our lives the best lives that they can be and to support our freedom in the process. Next up is good friend Alex Epstein. You are probably familiar with Alex. He's a master communicator and the author of The Moral Case for Fossil Fuels. He's also the founder of the Institute for, what is it, do I have it here? The Center for Industrial Progress. There we go. I got my concepts jumbled there. And Alex will be speaking on two topics. First, he's going to be speaking on his new project, which is called the Human Flourishing Project, which I'm really excited about, and I imagine you will be too. He is trying to synthesize all of the best ideas out there in various fields into a system of thinking so that we can both better understand what it means to support and pursue human flourishing and better disseminate these ideas. And Alex has all sorts of great ideas on this, but this is the first time that he's attempted to synthesize them all into a single system. And he says that in this lecture, he's going to present ideas that he thinks will immediately become of value to you in pursuing your goals and defending your rights. Alex will also be speaking on keys to communicating with clarity and impact. And if you've ever heard Alex communicate, you know that he is truly a master in this field. So you don't want to miss him speaking on that subject. Next up, Derek McGill is going to be speaking on how to build a career and a life around things you love. He'll be speaking later on how to create a professional online presence. And these are two areas that Derek is an expert in. Derek is the marketing director at Praxis, and he's a business strategist and a marketing expert in his own right, and a business strategist and a career expert. That's the other thing I wanted to get in there. He helps young adults to figure out how to build a life and a career around the things that they love, and he's going to impart to us his strategies and principles for that in these talks. Richard Salzman will be speaking on Jean-Baptiste Say and Ayn Rand and their the unity within their ideas. There's a lot of similarity in their ideas. They're both Aristotelian, and they both uphold a very causal way of thinking about their fields. Jean-Baptiste Say in economics and Ayn Rand in philosophy. And Dr. Salzman will be talking about not only how their ideas are substantially integrated, but how understanding that integration helps us to understand how and why economics is an objective science, a fact-based, principle-driven science, not a subjective or a priori, simply mathematical deductive science. Timothy Sandifer will be speaking on Frederick Douglass, and the title will be the philosophy of Frederick Douglass and the Philosophy of Self-Made Men. Timothy is the author of a forthcoming biography on Frederick Douglass called Frederick Douglass, Self-Made Man. Comes out next month in February, which is the bicentennial of Frederick Douglass's birth. I'm really excited about that book. I've read a little bit of it in advance. It's phenomenally good, and Tim will be speaking about that and elaborating on what we can learn from a great hero and principled pursuer of values such as Frederick Douglass. So I'm super excited about that. Next up, David Wechsler who is the marketing director at the Foundation for Economic Education. Among other things, David has all sorts of side gigs that he does. He does a lot of work for TOS and several other organizations that I know of. I don't even know how David gets all the work done that he does in the little bit of time that we have in a day. But what he's going to talk about in this talk titled Radical Strategies for Achieving Your Financial Goals Quickly, he's going to talk about his tried and true methods for generating huge amounts of income, and David has been very successful at this, by tapping into the various resources that you have in your own talent pool and in your capacity to increase your skills in today's marketplace, and to sell those skills in ways that are fairly unconventional but extremely successful. And David has just amazing ideas on this. So I'm super excited about that because I could certainly use some more money myself. Next up is, that brings us to the end of the sort of intellectual fair at the conference. So those are the lectures that are going to be there, but we have some very interesting things going on in the evening. David Crawford, who is a computer engineer during the day, but he's also a Lindy dancer at night, and he is going to be teaching a beginner Lindy Hop workshop. David has performed and competed in Lindy Hop, and he's taught Lindy Hop in New York City. He's a great dancer. I've seen him dance. He's pretty impressive. And he promises that he will have you dancing and smiling at your partner at the same time, even if you have two left feet. So I think you're going to find that a beautiful evening, and then you'll be able to use those dance skills at the closing banquet, where we'll have a dance and a dance floor with some great music. And then, putting a cherry on top of all of this, the legendary Robin Field is going to be delivering an evening of piano and poetry titled Sing Your Own Song. And if you're not familiar with Robin Field, run a search on YouTube for Robin Field Reason in Rhyme and prepare for a treat, because he is just amazing. He's a pianist, a lyricist, and a performer like no other. And he has not performed publicly like this for a long time. And in addition to performing one evening at the conference, we're going to have a private lounge set up with a piano in it, and Robin says that he may wander in there at random on occasion during the conference and sit down and just start playing and singing. So hopefully we can all be surprised by some of that. So that's the general program. Now I just want to tell you a little bit about the area. The hotel is the Richmond Hilton downtown in Richmond, Virginia. It's a short walking distance from the beautiful riverfront on the James River, which has everything from hiking trails to whitewater kayaking right there on the river to canal boat rides. It's just a beautiful, beautiful area. It's a very historic area. Also, there's an island called Brown's Island that was actually used as a prison during the Civil War. There's the Tredegar Iron Works, where the Confederates made cannonballs for the War of Northern Aggression, as they call it. So it's a really fascinating area. 1 mile from the hotel, a simple mile walk, is St. John's Church, where Patrick Henry gave his "Give Me Liberty or Give Me Death" speech. The hotel is surrounded by great restaurants. Richmond is a really sort of a foodie town, so the restaurants are really good. And the restaurants in the area near the hotel are for every budget and palate. And the interior of the hotel is just beautiful. It's an ancient building that was used to be called Miller and Rhodes, which was sort of like a Macy's department store in Richmond, very successful department store for many years. And when it went out of business, the building sat vacant for decades before the Hilton bought it, completely gutted the place, except for all of the important stuff like the marble floors and this, that, and the other, and built this beautiful hotel inside that building. And that's where we're going to be. So I hope I've wet your whistle a little bit on this. There's a lot more to it than that, but that gives you an indication. We've just launched registration, and we have incredibly low early bird pricing. If you go check it out, it's TOS-Con.com, so TOS-Con.com with a hyphen after TOS. Check out the early bird pricing. That's good through March 4, and after that, pricing goes up. So head on over there, read up on the conference. Sign up, register early. We do expect this conference to sell out, so please get your tickets early. Let your friends know about it. And I look forward to seeing you in Richmond in August. It's August 16 through 19 in Richmond, and I hope to see you there. We'll post links to the registration page and the where you can read up on the conference and all of the events there in the comment section below here. And if you have any questions, feel free to email them to me at cbiddle@theobjectivestandard.com. See you at TOS-Con.